Just in time for Halloween, two classic horror films are being remade. I'm Elizabeth Wagmeister, and I'm here with our chief film critic, Owen Gleiberman. Hey, Owen.
Hey, Elizabeth.
All right, we have to talk about Halloween and Suspiria. Here we have two 1970s classic horror films being remade. Remakes are always tricky. You have fans that are expecting a lot.
Sure.
And I know that you've seen both of the films. Did they get it right?
Well, Elizabeth, I think the lesson here is that if you're going to remake a famous bucket of blood horror film from the late 70s, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. Halloween isn't really a remake, it's a sequel, of course, but essentially it is a remake. I mean, the way to do this right is to really recreate the feeling that people had about the original film and be just different enough. Now, you might say, you know, that's not so tricky to do, but there's been a lot of sequels and rehashes in between of Halloween over the last 10 years, and none of them have really gotten it right. What's different about this one? Well, it starts with the director, David Gordon Green, who has really a kind of amazing film technique to really recreate the kind of invisible elegance with which John Carpenter made that original film. I always found the first Halloween to be, frankly, a really, really good formulaic horror film. It kind of started the formulaic quality of slasher films, but it was so well made and it was scary. This movie brings that back, and at the same time you have this new element, which is Jamie Lee Curtis returning from the original, but now so in tune with the times. She's playing Laurie Strode 40 years later. She's been victimized, traumatized, and she's going to get her vengeance. Not just on Michael Myers, but on, you know, this whole world of the violence of men. That is really what this movie makes, in its way, a little bit of a statement about, and clearly ties into the times. And I think they just struck lightning with that.
And Owen, you're not the only one. Halloween is killing it at the box office. Opened with over $70 million at the box office, becoming the biggest Halloween opening, and also a stat that I love, the biggest horror film opening with a female lead. Quite an accomplishment.
That's a lesson.
Yes. All right, now let's move on to Suspiria. You said you did not love it. Why is that?
Well, look, I think the remake of Suspiria is really trying for something, but let's go back to the original and talk about what people love about this movie. It was made in 1977 by the Italian horror director Dario Argento, and the original Suspiria is basically this lurid, Baroque, over-the-top exercise in style. What people love about it and still remember about it is the Satan meets Liberace wallpaper and the crazy musical theme and, you know, the sort of deranged story. But personally, I don't think it's a movie to take seriously. I actually think it's a very, very fun piece of trash. Now that's fine, remake it. But the director of the new Suspiria, Luca Guadagnino, who made Call Me By Your Name, really serious director, well, he's turned it into a really serious horror film. Dakota Johnson, who I really like, takes over the Jessica Harper role, plays this young woman who goes to Berlin, joins this dance academy that's run by witches. The original Suspiria, in its way, was kind of a feminist movie. It was onto this idea that witchiness is sort of a form of woman power. Well, the new movie is really into that, which I think is sort of a cool idea. But where's the horror in that sense? It's not scary. What's Dakota Johnson really fighting or scared of? The movie is completely vague about all of this, and so it kind of just lumbers on for 2.5 hours. There is this really kind of over-the-top horrific scene at the end. There's some good dancing in it, but who goes to see Suspiria
for the dancing?
For the dancing, exactly. So I think what Luca Guadagnino left out of the Suspiria remake is that really fun, trashy element. And I think if he put that in there, he could have also made a kind of fun, serious, feminist horror film that also had that. As it is, I don't think the fans of the original Suspiria are going to be satisfied by this one, or people who've never seen the original. I just think it's going to leave a lot of people scratching their heads.
Now, of course, that is always a potential problem with any remake of upsetting the fans, but on the topic of horror remakes, there was just another classic horror film announced that's being remade, none other than Friday the 13th.
Yep.
And LeBron James has actually acquired the rights to the film through his production company, Spring Hill Entertainment. What do you think? Friday the 13th, do we need another one?
I certainly don't think we do. I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. It's kind of a whatever idea. I mean, look, the story of horror in the last 30 or 40 years has been about reboots, remakes, rehashes. It's the same tropes, the same scares, the same killers, maybe with a different mask. That's the story of horror. So to hear that there's going to be a new Friday the 13th, it's the same old, same old. Maybe Halloween was going to be that too, but they struck gold with bringing back Jamie Lee Curtis and getting a really good director to do it and having it come out at the right moment. I think it's going to be very hard to have that sort of scary lightning strike again.
As always, for more news and information on all of these films, go to Variety.com or follow us on Twitter.